Okay. Um, Hello, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me and see my screen. So we are just about to begin. So apologies for the 5-minute delay, and I still see that we still have a couple more people joining the session. Um, However, we'll just go ahead and start the session today. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat box, and we will answer them at the end of the webinar session. So once again, welcome to Jamo Solutions M-eux test webinar. And today the agenda is to cover on what's new in mobile automated mobile testing. So next, we'll be talking about a little bit of Jamo Solutions background on our history and what we do in terms of our core business. And then secondly, we'll be talking to you about what mobile testing strategy is in terms of functional and performance testing. Furthermore, Frederick will be explaining to you in terms of how to do testing on native applications and also web applications and providing you with a demo. Finally, we'll be wrapping up the session, and then we'll have a Q&A discussion in the dialog box. So basically, you have to go to your GoToMeeting panel, and there is questions or a chat dialog box. So you can raise your questions there, whatever you may have, and we'll answer them according to the order that they come through. So once again, thank you for joining, and we hope you enjoy our presentation. So from Jamo Solutions side, to give you a background on our CEO and our founder is Jack Wouters. Jack, he has been in the industry for over 20 years, holding key management positions in Mercury Interactive and later on in HP. So from my side, my name is Debbie Chang, and I am the sales consultant and also the Partners Alliance consultant from Jamo Solutions. So I have a background of 7 years in business and sales development, and I have previously worked in MasterCard. Joining from the session as well is my colleague Frederick Carlier, and he is our worldwide technology strategist. So Frederick, he has worked in Microsoft, and he is our key to-go person for technology and technical questions. So please enjoy the session, and we'll be discussing the questions afterwards. So about Jamo Solutions, the mission of our company is to offer you as testers and QA managers a tool to test on the graphical user interface of the mobile application. And this is with reusability of your test scripts and also reliability and with ease. So our flagship product is called M-eux Test, and we directly sell it, package it, and ship it as a plug-in tool to all the scripting environments such as HP's QTP, UFT, Microsoft's Visual Studio, and also Eclipse. So our company was founded back in 2008, and we are based in Belgium. However, having said that, we are an international software provider with worldwide coverage. So as I already explained to you, we are fully technology affiliated partners with HP, Microsoft, and IBM. So we do integrate with all their packages and suites in terms of functional, performance, and ARM packaging. We are also one of the few vendors out in the market for test automation that covers a really broad spectrum of operating system support. So we do cover for Android, iOS, Windows, and BlackBerry. For example, for Android platforms, we cover support to the latest version of 4.3. iOS 7, we have support. Windows Phone 8, Windows Mobile, Windows Embedded Compact 7 version, as well as BlackBerry version 8 is supported. So another thing to note is that we do support backwards compatibility as well as forward compatibility of the versions within the operating system itself. So to give you an overview of some of the key customers that we have in the various industries that you see here, basically we have covered two different spectrum of customers. One type of customer is the customer who are using smartphone, tablets, consumer applications that's running on Android and iPhones, iOS platforms. And then we kind of see the different type of industrial clients who are using handheld devices that's running on Windows CE, Windows Mobile, So to give you an idea, for example, financial sector clients we have right now include AXA Bank, Bank West, ANZ, and AIA Insurance. In terms of telecommunications and network providers, we do cover clients in Orange, Telstra, Cisco, SAP. And then consumer clients, we cover JCPenney, Nordstrom, CC Hellenic, Coca-Cola Hellenic, and also PepsiCo. For industrial energy healthcare providers, we have clients in Alcatel, Lucent, Air Liquide, Lind, Siemens, and for transportation, covers SNCF, DHL, and so on. In terms of the system integrators that we're partnered with, I'll just name the active partners that we're working directly with right now with Jamo Solutions, such as Infosys, Capgemini, TCS. Also from the European side, we're working very closely with Devoteam, Caraval, Quasys, M-eux, and also 4S in Turkey, Concept Q, Knowit, Hellenic, and Associates. This is to give you an idea of all the partners that we're working directly with. So if you're joining a session, you're working as a system integrator, a consultancy company, or interested in our partnership, please don't hesitate to also contact us for more information. So next, in terms of mobile testing strategies, I will be explaining to you on our core business in functional and performance testing. So what we do best is testing on functional and performance testing. So basically, as we have already said, that we are a plug-in tool directly to all the scripting environments such as QTP UFT from HP and Visual Studio from Microsoft and also Eclipse. So what we know is that the best practices for testing desktop applications are using all these scripting environments. So we're basically just bringing all these best practices and bring it directly to the mobile testing world. So in this case, you do not need to leverage anything new. You're learning, you already have your expertise on all these scripting environments. And also, mobile is not just purely testing on the functional and performance parts. It requires the end-to-end solution, which covers the application lifecycle management. So we really care about the quality of your application, because your testing essentially is to make sure that you have an application that works and it has a really good quality. So for functional testing, as we have said, we're basically bringing the best practices to the mobile application testing world in terms of extending the existing products of HP and Microsoft and Eclipse. So what we're using as our technology is automated UI testing, and we're using real object recognition. So real object recognition is basically what we're doing is recognizing objects on the graphical user interface on the object level. So by integrating with all these scripting environments, we're able to allow you to perform automation framework, data-driven tests, record, replay functions directly on your scripting environment, as well as results and reporting. So like I said again, we really give you the flexibility and the power to leverage your existing skills and infrastructure, and hence this results in a higher ROI and a lower total cost of ownership when you're using our tool. In terms of performance testing, I also want to point out, as we are leveraging our extending support for the packages, so M-eux test extends the functionality of HP's Load Runner and also Microsoft's Visual Studio. So for performance testing and monitoring, what we do is that we allow testers to monitor the performance of applications, and this includes both the performance of the application on the device. So for example, we can show you the memory consumption and also battery consumption, as well as CPU usage, and so on and so forth. Another thing that we can also show you is the performance of the application as its popularity increases. So for example, if you have many users using your application at one point in time, we can show you the load testing, how it performs on your system when the amount of users are logging into your application at one point in time. Next, In terms of application lifecycle management, again, our integration with the industry standard ALM tools cover HP's ALM package suite, so that is the quality center. And for Microsoft, it is Team Foundation Server, as well as IBM's Rational Quality Manager. So we directly implement our support as a plugin tool to all these scripting environments and all these ALM suites. So we do support continuous integration, as well as Jenkins, and also the full build deployment test cycle reporting cycle. Okay. And without further ado, I will be passing on the presentation to Frederick, who will be explaining to you next on testing on native applications and web applications.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. So give it one moment while I make myself a presenter. Alrighty. So also on my behalf, I first of all would like to welcome everybody to this webinar. And what I'll do during today's webinar is I'll walk you through two scenarios, one about testing native applications using M-eux test and one about testing web applications on M-eux test. So I'll start with the testing of the native application. And what we allow you to do when you want to test a native mobile application is to test that application straight from within your favorite testing environment. So if you're already an expert in HP's UFT, Microsoft Visual Studio, or Eclipse, what we allow you to do is reuse your existing knowledge and skills within those environments and basically seamlessly extend your existing skills onto the mobile and into the mobile world. We also allow you to test your application on most mobile operating systems. So we support operating systems ranging from the usual suspects such as Android and iOS, but we also have coverage for different versions of Windows as well as BlackBerry. And then I think there are two very important requirements that we have covered for you as well. The first is that we allow you to test your application without the need for you to have access to the source code. So if you receive the application from perhaps a customer or maybe development team within your own organization, those teams might not always be very confident on sharing their source code with you. And also, if you go back to them and say, we need the source code and we're going to compile the application on our own, that might raise some eyebrows left and right. So we've got that covered. We basically allow you to take the final version of the application, the version of the application that the development teams will send to the different stores. You can start from that version of the application and you can start and do your tests on the final version, final compiled version of your application. We also allow you to do tests on your device without making any security changes to the device. So if you've got an iPhone 5C that you just bought from the Apple Store, you can start and execute your tests on that one. So we don't require you to jailbreak your device. We don't require you to make any routing or other security changes to your device. We respect the existing security requirements of your device. So those are our two different features, or two main features that we see that are quite important when we go and we talk to our customers. We consistently get that feedback. So we're happy to announce that we basically got you covered on those different axes. What I'll show you now is basically a demo on how you can start testing an iOS 7 application. So the workflow that I'll be introducing here is that I get the compiled app. So in the case of an iOS application, that's an IPA file. I get that compiled app from my development team or perhaps from my customer. Then the first thing I need to do is I need to make that app testable. So I need to run it through a small tool that you'll get from Jamo Solutions, which makes your app testable, so which means you can start writing your test automation scripts against your app. And then basically the next step is you can really start writing your own test automation scripts. So I'll also show you how you can do that. So let's get started. I'll switch to my Mac machine and I'll first take my compiled application and I'll make it testable. Now now is I'll make my app testable and deploy it to my iPhone so that I can start testing my app using M-eux test on a Windows PC. I've received the iProvisioning profile, which I received either from the development team or requested directly from Apple. So the first step would be to make my application testable. To make my application testable, I'll use the testable creator, and I've installed the testable creator on my Mac. To run the testable creator, I just open the testable creator folder, and then I'll click the testable creator.jar file. And now that the testable creator has opened, I can start and go ahead and make my IPA testable. So the first step in making an IPA testable is to select the IPA file itself. And to select the IPA file, I'll click on the Select IPA File button. I'll navigate to the folder where my API file is stored, which is on the desktop. And then I'll double-click the IPA file itself, in this case the UI catalog IPA file. The second step is to select the provisioning profile. So to select the provisioning profile, I also click the Select Provisioning Profile button. And then I'll navigate to the folder where the provisioning profile is stored, which also happens to be my desktop. So now I'll click the Jamo.mobile provisioning file, which contains my provisioning profile. And you can see that the tool has detected my provisioning profile. So next I need to configure 3 more settings, which is the first of them is the certificate that I need to use to sign my testable version of my application. Certificates for iPhone development are managed using Xcode, and you can see that I already have a certificate installed on this PC. And the testable creator has picked up that certificate for me. I also need to specify the iOS version. I'll be deploying to an iPhone 5C, which is running iOS 7. So I'll go ahead and I'll indicate that I'm running on iOS 7. Finally, I need to specify a bundle ID, which is like a unique name for my application. And I'll specify a bundle ID of com.jamosolutions.testable-UI-catalog. So now I'm all set to make my application testable. All I need to do is click the Start button. And now the testable creator will go ahead and start and create a testable version of my IPA. Once that process is done, which is just about now, you'll see that I have a new file on my desktop which is called testable-UI-catalog.ipa. So I'll use this IPA file and I'll go ahead and deploy it to my iPhone. So first let me close the testable creator as well as the Finder and start the iPhone configuration utility. I'll add my application to the iPhone configuration utility just by dragging it to the Applications tab in the iPhone configuration utility. And then I'll deploy the application to my iPhone by clicking on the iPhone in the lower left corner. And I'll navigate to Applications tab. You'll see that the testable UI catalog shows up in the list of applications ready to be deployed to this iPhone. And then I'll go ahead and click Install, and the application will be available on my iPhone. So now we're all set to start testing the application. So here I'll switch back to my Windows PC and we'll take it from there. Okay, so now I've got my application running on the mobile device. And of course what I want to do next is start testing the application using my testing tool. So I thought it would be a great time to also spend a couple of minutes talking about the architecture of our tool. So as you can see, Jamo Solutions, basically our product contains of 3 main parts. First of all, on the mobile device, we have an application running which we call the agent, and the agent really takes care of the communication between the mobile device and your desktop itself. And on the desktop, we surface as an add-in for Visual Studio, QuickTest Professional, or Eclipse. And basically we allow you to start creating and managing your mobile test automation scripts from within those tools. And what we do there is we have a separate product which we call the Device Manager, which basically acts as a communication gateway between both the testing tool that you're using and the agent, which is the application running on the mobile device. So what I'll do next, I'll give you a quick demo of how I can create my first script against this application that I just made testable, using unified functional testing from HP, and then using my application also that's running on on an iPhone 5C. I also see that people have asked some questions in the question box, so that's great. Thank you very much for having those questions there. We'll try to answer them as we go, and if not, at the end of the webinar, we'll also come back and we'll revisit those questions. Okay, so what I've done now is I switch back to my Windows PC, and this is really where all the magic will happen, right? It is on my Windows PC that I can start using M-eux test from Jamo Solutions to automate my mobile test cases. And automating my mobile test cases really allows me to manage the quality of my mobile applications. So as we mentioned before, M-eux test is not a standalone tool, right? It is an extension, it's an add-on for the existing testing tools. So integrate with tools such as Unified Functional Testing from HP, Visual Studio from Microsoft, as well as Eclipse. And the power of that integration really is that we extend the existing tools that you already know and love. So we've taken them and we extend them to mobile devices. So what I'll do now is I'll give you a demo of how you can use M-eux test together with HP UFT to start creating your first mobile test case. So let's have a look at how that works. So on my screen you can see the two main components. So you've got UFT on the right hand side of the screen, and then you've got M-eux test, which materializes as the device manager on the left hand side of the screen. So what I can do now is you see that I've got my iPhone connected to the device manager. So the first thing I can do is I can gain insight and can have a look at what's really going on in the device itself. So the feature that we've got there is what we call the remote device screen. So I can click on tools, I click on remote device screen, and I click on the name of the device that I've connected. So what will pop up now is basically a remote connection to the mobile device. So here you can see that I've got an application up and running. It is a UI catalog application, the same application that we made testable before. And basically using this screen, for example, what I can do is I can start using my mouse to start interacting with this application. So let's say I want to move the slider around with my mouse. You'll see that if I move my mouse to the left, you'll see that the slider also changes value. And that really holds true for any component basically on the screen. So you can start really interacting, you can start executing perhaps some manual test cases on your mobile application using the remote device screen and your mouse on any Windows desktop. Okay. So from here, this is where the magic starts, right? So for example, one of the features that we also have is what we call the object spy. So the object spy really allows you to spy on or to inspect on the user interface of your mobile application. So I can use my mouse to hover over my mobile application. I can highlight any of the user controls that exist on that mobile application. So for example, let me take this standard switch value, which is a label or a text label on the iOS application. What the object spy shows me is the full list of all properties that that label has. So for example, if I want to inspect, let's say, the text of this label, you can see that we show you the full text of that label. If you want to get an idea of the text color, for example, which color is being used, how wide is that control, basically any property that a developer can access, we also give that to you as a tester. So this really allows you to write very rich and very powerful test scripts in any testing environment, basically. Those who are familiar with UFT, you probably know that UFT also has its own object spy. So let me show how we integrate with UFT as well in that context. So what I can do is I can click on Tools, Object Spy in UFT. I can use the pointing hand to select an object. So basically when I do this, I can use the pointing hand to hover over my mobile application. And you'll see that it'll also start detecting any of the different objects that exist on that application straight from within UFT. And here also the same thing applies. UFT will show me a full list of all the different properties. So any property that your developer can access, you as a tester will also be able to access that property. And we also list for you the full list of all the operations that you want to execute. So for example, if you want to simulate, let's say, a tap, so user tapping on that object, we've got the tap operation for that one. We also got the tap move operation, for example, if you want to simulate what sometimes is also called a swipe. Let's say that in your test script you want to capture a bitmap, for example. We also allow you to do that. So, most operations that you would expect naturally to be there. Well, the great news is that using M-eux test, you also have the same features and you also have the same functionality straight from within HP's UFT. But this isn't where the fun stops, right? So our integration with UFT is pretty powerful. So we also allow you to record we allow you to create your first test script by just recording a couple of actions that occur on the mobile device. So if you want to start recording, I click the record button in UFT. UFT will switch into record mode, and basically any action that I execute on the mobile device will be recorded as a line of code from within UFT. So if you want to toggle the standard switch to on, what you'll see is that a line of code has been generated in UFT that automates that exact action. So let's have a look at that line of code. So right now it says, I operated on the UI switch, which was this one, and I set it to true. So you see which translates to toggling the switch on. So now if I want to replay this script, let's see if we can do that. So for example, what I could do is I could write a script that sets that switch back to off. So that would be encoded would be setting the value of that switch to false. So I made that change. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and I can run that script, and you'll see that when I run that script, the switch will be toggled back off. So to run that script, the only thing I need to do is I click on the Run button in UFT. I hit Run once more to really explain to UFT that I really want to run the script. And as soon as that's the case, UFT will go into replay mode. It will show me a result screen, but the most important thing is that this switch has been toggled off. So this is really, the most basic of the features or demos that I can give to you. We recorded a script and then we replayed the exact same script on a mobile device. But just think of how powerful this is, right? We give you full integration with UFT. So from here you can write any test script that you can basically imagine. We allow you to write that from within UFT. So if you want to write VB script, if you've got methods that you use, if you want to execute, for example, a test case, which is a user executing a couple of operations on a mobile device, and then you want to inspect the state of the user interface and really make sure that the end result is what you expect to be there. We allow you to do all those things straight from within UFT. I've shown you the integration with the objects file. The last thing I'll show you in UFT is also the integration that we have with the object repository. So you'll see that when I started creating my test script, basically the objects with which I interacted also have been added automatically to the object repository from within UFT. So here again I get a view on the structure of my mobile application. I can see that the UI switch sits in a table view cell, which is part of a table view, which is part of a window on iOS, for example. So the object repository also gives me, a rich insight into the structure of my application. Okay, so that was a quick demo basically on how you can start testing native applications using M-eux test and then our integration with HP's UFT as well. So again, I see a lot of great questions coming up in the question screen. We will try to answer some of them as we go. Some of them we might want to defer to the end of the presentation as well. But perhaps let me come back on the object recognition that we have. So basically what we set out to do is we want to bring the same test experience that you have with UFT today, testing desktop applications on Windows. We want to bring that same experience to you when you're doing your test automation on mobile devices. So what we call the real object recognition technology, it's basically that technology that UFT has today for desktop applications on Windows. It's the same object recognition technology that we brought to mobile devices. And then here as well, what we've shown is basically it was a demo using a iOS application, so it was an application that ran on an iPhone 5C. If you want to do this on Android, for example, the same process applies. You also take the compiled version of your application, you need to make it testable. It's not the same as instrumenting the application, it's making it testable. And then you could also start testing that application on any Android operating system. Here as well, I've given my demo using a physical device. It was a physical iPhone 5C. But if you want to use emulators or simulators, basically as long as your application can run on that emulator or simulator, we'll also be able to we'll also be able to bring that experience to you using those emulators and simulators. And then the same thing goes with the demo here was with HP's UFT. We bring the same experience to Eclipse. So basically, if you use our product, it will also ship with a plugin for Eclipse, and it also ships with a plugin for Visual Studio. So it really allows you to, the demo that we gave you right now was using an iOS application on UFT, but you can do the same thing using an Android application with Eclipse or a Windows Phone application with Visual Studio or any other combination that you can think of. What we'll do, so yes, and basically the process of making your application testable removes the need to add specific code into your IPA. So that really makes it easier, so you don't need to make any changes to the code anymore. You can just take the compiled version, make it testable, and run it. You don't need to go back to your development team and ask them to make any changes. So I'll move to the web apps demo now, and we'll come back to a lot of the questions that many of you are asking right now over the screen, and we'll keep them for the end of the webinar. So what I'll show you now is basically how you can test a web application using our product. And basically how we allow you to test web applications, it's similar to how we allow you to test mobile native applications. So you can do the testing from within your favorite testing environment, so UFT, Visual Studio, Eclipse, Android Studio, as we mentioned, is coming in the future as well. We allow you to do test automation on most mobile operating systems. So again, it's the same list. We've got Android, we've got iOS, we've got the different versions of Windows as well as BlackBerry. We don't require access to the source code, nor do we require you to change the source code in any way for us to be able to test your web application. And we don't require you to make any security changes to your device either. And then what's new and what we want to emphasize in this demo as well is that if you're a UFT user and you've written a UFT web script, you can reuse that same UFT web script on mobile devices. So I'll give you a quick demo on that one right now, and I'll basically show you how you can reuse an existing UFT web script that was written for the desktop and how you can reuse it on your mobile device. So let's get started with that one. So the last demo we'll be giving today in this webinar is how you can replay existing scripts that you've created using UFT web on mobile devices. And the really great thing about this one is that you can start, it's not only that you can reuse those existing scripts on mobile devices, the cool thing about it is as well that you can use it on any mobile device. So we allow you to replay your scripts on iOS devices, be it an iPhone, an iPad, running iOS 7, 6, 5, it doesn't really matter that much, as well as on Android devices, Windows devices, and BlackBerry devices. So let's get started. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start HP's UFT on my PC, and I'll start it using the UFT web plugin. So when it asks me which add-in to load, I'll select web and I'll click OK to really get into UFT. What I can do now is I can open my existing test, the test I used for the previous demo. Let's go to the code view, let's remove all the code from this test, and let's start a new browser. So I'll open Internet Explorer and I'll navigate to the Apple website. The Apple website is a website we'll be using for this demo. So what I want to do now is I want to record a very basic UFT web script using the standard functionality from UFT. So I'll click the record button. UFT switches to record mode, and for example what I can do now is I can just navigate to the different tabs on the Apple website. So let's say I want to click Mac, I want to click iPod, I want to click iPhone, iPad, finally iTunes, and then let's enter the support page. Let me stop recording. And what you can see now is that UFT basically has created a very basic script for me, which is a recording of those actions where I navigate through to the different pages on my Apple website. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to take this script and reuse it on my mobile device. So as you know, I already have my mobile iPhone 5 connected to my PC. I've opened a browser on that iPhone 5 device. So now let's see if I can really reuse that existing UFT script on my mobile device. The first thing you need to do is you need to restart UFT. And you need to restart UFT because we'll be using a different plugin on this time. So instead of using the web plugin, we'll be using the M-eux test for QTP web plugin. So I'll check that one and I'll click OK. So let me open the exact same GUI test again. Let me go to the script view. And basically the only thing I need to do here is I need to add one line of code which instructs UFT that I want to use this script on a specific mobile device. So I need to somehow link my test script to a mobile device. And the way we'll do it is really easy. So I just open UFT. I record one single action on my mobile device, so that the mobile device is added to the object repository so that UFT knows about it. So for example, let me record me clicking on the Mac tab. Okay, that's done. So let me stop recording. Let me go back to the home page as well on the mobile device. There we are. And what I can do now is I can instruct UFT to use this specific browser. So you can see that it generated a script that acts on an IIS WebView object. So let me remove all the code that we've got here and change it with a code or a call to a method which is called set as QTP browser. There we go. So what this line of code does, it instructs QTP. It tells QTP that I want to use this mobile device, so my iPhone 5C device, as the browser when I'm executing this script. So let's give it a try. I'll hit the run button. I'll confirm that I really want to run this script. And what you'll see now is that UFT will walk me through that script. And you'll see on the remote device screen that the page refreshes as my mobile device moves from one page to another. So this is pretty cool and amazing because it really allows you to reuse your existing test scripts and your existing test assets that you've created for the desktop, and it allows you to reuse them on mobile devices. And the important thing as well is that it allows you to reuse them on any mobile device. So you can use it on an iOS device, you can use it on Android device, you can use it on Windows device. It doesn't really matter to us. You can really use it on any device that you want. So it was a quick introduction basically on how you can reuse the standard QTP web features to start replaying an existing script on your mobile devices. So that kind of concluded the second demo that I had for you today. So the first demo was about how you can test a native app. So in this case I took a compiled iOS 7 app, I deployed it to my phone and then started writing tests against it, and also showed you how you can start testing web apps on mobile devices, basically reusing your QTP web scripts. But of course, if you don't have any QTP web scripts, you can also just start creating your scripts from scratch. So what I'll do now is I'll first hand the presentation back to Debbie for the wrap-up, and then after that, we'll take some time to answer the questions that you've been asking in the question box. Also, the attendees that are raising their hands, if you have any specific questions for us, the best thing would be either contact any of the organizers through chat or just put your question in the question box for anyone to see, and then we'll do our best to answer that question during this webinar. So Debbie, back to you for the wrap-up.
Thank you, Frederick. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed our presentation and that it was useful and knowledgeable. So to wrap it all up, we have given you an overview on M-eux test, our core functionalities in terms of testing testing strategies for functional performance and also ALM integration. In terms of testing applications, we have given you the access to test on your favorite popular scripting environment without any source code changes or any device security changes on your hardware devices. Finally, we have also given you a demo on how to test on web applications to directly reuse your existing UFT web scripts and directly use it on all mobile platforms. So that is cross-platform and cross-browser support directly for UFT web testing. So I hope you have enjoyed the webinar, and thank you again. So now the next step is to come for us for a free trial. So how to do this is through our website. You can directly go on to www.jamosolutions.com and apply for a free trial. There we'll give you membership access to download Nuix tests, and we wish you success on your evaluation journey. And next we will begin our Q&A session. So we have been answering the questions as they have been coming in. So if you have other questions, please raise them directly in the chat box, and we'll answer them as well.
Yes, okay, thank Debbie. So now I'll also be answering some of the questions over audio. Like I'll pick perhaps the most important questions, and I'll try to answer them over audio as well. So I think there was a question from Sri on whether we only have record and playback. No, we have much more than just record and playback. So when I recorded that script in UFT, what you could see is that lines of code were being generated. And actually one of the things I did is I changed the recorded code. So, it was not just playing back what has been recorded before, but you could also see that I could start making changes to the script that has been recorded from me. That said, we know that record playback sometimes makes for great demos, and real life tends to disagree. So what we also allow you to do is, we've got those features with the object spy. We've got integration with the object spy, with the object repository. And what we also allow you to do is allow UFT to learn the user interface of your application. So we allow you to pre-populate the object repository with all the objects of your application. And then basically if you wanted to start writing your script manually, that's also something that we support for you. So we allow you to add all the objects to your object repository, and from there you basically can start writing your scripts without doing record and playback. We know that some people also have a tendency or a preference for descriptive programming. That's also something else that we support in that context. So as performance testing goes, we can give you a demo on that one. It would be a bit out of scope or would take too much time for this webinar, but please contact us at info@jamosolutions.com, and we'd be more than happy to either give you more information or set up a demo on that one as well. There was a question about how to do performance testing. So there the same thing goes. We'd be happy to give you a demonstration on that one. If you contact us, we also have a white paper on our website. So if you log on to jamosolutions.com, you'll basically see a product tab from where you can drill down to performance testing, and there you'll find more information about the performance testing features that we have. But as far as performance testing goes, what I want to reiterate is that we allow you to test both the performance of the application on the device itself. So if you want to get, information about the CPU consumption of your device, of your application, the memory consumption of your application, so we are able to capture those metrics and bring them back to your testing environment. And we also allow you to do load testing of your application. So for example, in some contexts, what we see is that people want to do load testing of, let's say, SAP or CBIL applications running on mobile devices. Those applications can usually not be tested using traditional tools such as HP Load Runner, and we are able to provide a solution there, where we basically automate a number of different mobile devices at the same time that generate load on your backend servers, and from there you can see if the backend servers are able to, first of all, sustain the load and also handle concurrent requests coming in correctly. What we also allow you to do is, say, if you've got a standard application, we allow you to generate load on your backend server and then see how the performance of your application scales as the load on your backend server increases. So, for example, if you go from 500 to 1,000 users, what is the performance of my login screen? So we allow to capture those metrics and we bring them to you as well. Let's see, yep, KitKat, support for KitKat is coming at the end of this month. The testable creator, basically if you download our product, so Muix Test from our website, jamosolutions.com, basically the testable creator will be installed on your PC. And from there, for Android, you can run the testable creator directly on your PC. For iOS, you will be able to you will have a zip file that you can copy to your Mac PC, and then from Mac OS you can run the testable creator for iOS there. Yep, there were some questions about image comparisons and Excel integration. So we support data-driven tests. So if you want to do data binding of your test, then maybe you have an Excel file with parameters for different test cases. We allow you through integration with, for example, UFT, through integration with Visual Studio, we allow you to write your test scripts that take parameters and then fetch those parameters from Excel files. So we've got you covered there. And if you want to do image comparison, you can do it as well. Although we think that typically using our object recognition technology, the need for image comparison will be less, but we've definitely got that feature in our product as well. And as far as the mobile apps goes, we support both web apps and native apps, so we've given you a demo for that one. But don't take our word for it. You can always download the product from our website, jamosolutions.com, and try it yourself. And then yes, as far as real devices go, that's a question that came up a couple of times. So we support both real devices as well as emulators and simulators. So what we see is that depending on your test requirements, sometimes emulators and simulators are good enough. Sometimes you want to use real devices. Whatever your requirements are, we'll be more than happy to support you with that one. Our product covers both physical real devices as well as emulators and simulators. And we go to the low-level testing. So, for example, USSD messages, we can also interact with them. Yep, and then I think there were a lot of questions about how to do this or that. I see my colleagues have already been busy answering those questions. But there again, if you got more questions, feel free to come back to us, info@jamosolutions.com. We'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have. As far as testing on different versions of Android goes, one of the features that we do have is, for example, the UI catalog application that I was testing before. It was an application running on iOS 7. So I've written my test for an iPhone 5C running iOS 7. But one of the great features that we have as well is that because we are using object recognition technology, you can reuse the exact same script and also replay it on an iOS 6 device, for example. And you can also take the exact same test script and run it on an iPad device, on an iPod device. So as long as the device is running iOS, we can reuse the same script. And the same holds true for Android. So if you are testing your application on one Android device using one particular version of Android, you can reuse the test scripts that you've written on any other device running any other version of the Android operating system. So we really give you a lot of reusability of your test scripts in that context. The same thing goes, for different versions. I've shown my demo using UFT 11.5, but we support the previous versions of UFT or QTP as well. The same thing for Visual Studio and Eclipse. We support a wide range of different versions there. So we really allow you to, whatever version of UFT, Visual Studio, or Eclipse you are currently using, we typically have support for that version as well. So we really allow you to take the versions of the products that you have today and extend those to mobile applications. And then again, apart from recording and playback, yes, it's absolutely possible for you to just write code in VBScript and then test mobile apps using UFT. So record playback works well, the first times when you're writing or when you're starting your test scripts for the first time. But typically we see that after that people move to writing the code directly using VBScript, for example, in UFT. So we definitely got you covered on that one as well. So I think those are the most of the questions that we have had. There was one question about reusing scripts across different operating systems. That's something that we don't currently support. So you would typically end up, for example, if your application runs on iOS and Android, you would have two different scripts, one for all devices running iOS and one script for all devices running Android. Because what we see is that the applications on Android, even if it's the same application, there tend to be some minor or some slight differences across operating systems. So we typically find out that having a dedicated script for each operating system is the better option for our customers there. And then again, I think defining the test cases, setting up your test strategy, that's where you'll spend most of the time. And really the pure mechanics of writing the code for one operating system or the other, it is some additional work that you need to do, but it's typically, it's not a big overhead that we see with our current customers. It's really about designing the test cases that's where you'll spend most of the time. And then there was a question about the object spy not working on the remote device screen. Typically, if the object spy is not able to detect any of the objects, that means that you didn't make your application testable. So that is important that you make your application testable before you start using the object spy. So that's a prerequisite to start testing your applications with our product. And then the switch between image recognition and object recognition, that is, I think, Ananda, like you pointed out, we think that object recognition is the better approach. It's a more flexible approach, but in certain scenarios, indeed, native properties might not be available, and that's where we see customers go back to image recognition as a fallback. So, for example, if you really have an image on your screen, which is not a native object, but it really is an image, then perhaps you might need to do some image recognition there. The scripting knowledge that you require to use M-eux test, it's basically, if you're using UFT, it's the standard VB-script knowledge. If you're using Visual Studio, you need to have some knowledge of C#. And if you're using Eclipse, then the knowledge of Java would come in handy. So what we find is that most testers already have knowledge in one of those scripting languages or programming languages. So what we typically suggest you to do is take the language that you feel most comfortable with and then start creating your test cases in that language. And then, so I think as far as pricing goes, that is something that we can handle offline. If you're interested, most definitely Debbie and other people at the sales team would be more than happy to help you on the pricing of our product as well. If you're interested, you can always go to our website, jamosolutions.com, and request a trial license, or you can just send out an email to info@jamosolutions.com, and we'd be more than happy to come back to you. So I think we're getting close to the end of the webinar, so we're getting close to 11 a.m. CAT. So definitely from our side, I think it was a pleasure to be presenting to you today and to give you an overview of how you can use our product to start doing test automation on mobile web applications and mobile native applications. We'd like to thank the audience as well for a lot of the great questions that you've been putting out there. So I think we'll spend some more time answering those questions in the webinar. But if you've got any questions, we'll make this webinar available online. If you've got any other questions, don't hesitate to contact us through our website at jamosolutions.com or just shoot an email to info@jamosolutions.com. And we'd also be more than happy to provide you with a trial license of our product, which you can also download at our website, jamosolutions.com. So I think I'll stop answering questions on the audio bridge here. We'll do it for a bit longer in the chat box. And I don't know, Debbie, if you want to add something to that at this point in time.
Thank you, Frederick. Like Frederick has already mentioned, I want to also extend that welcome and also thank you for joining our webinar session today. It was really a pleasure to host this webinar and explain to you our latest exciting product features. So please feel free to contact us with any information that you might have directly through our website or, as Frederick had mentioned, through our email address at info@jamosolutions.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. So thank you again, and goodbye.